Wake up to Good Morning Carolina, weekdays at 5:30 a.m.
And good morning, Carolina. It is a very busy news morning today. I'm Donna Gregory.
And I'm Jeff Rivenbark. We're glad you're starting your Tuesday with us.
Be prepared and ready to go for the day ahead.
For the time being, we are dry and quiet, but we are dealing with some patchy fog.
And catch up with the overnight news you need to know before heading out the door.
We'll have more details and more live coverage in just a few moments.
Get up early for Good Morning Carolina, weekdays at 5:30 a.m.
There has never been a better time to go to college. Class of 2021 high school graduates, you don't want to miss this. You may be eligible to have your tuition and fees covered at Cape Fear Community College for 2 years, beginning this fall through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. This is money that does not need to be repaid and covers tuition toward a degree or towards transfer credit to a 4-year school. This is your chance to make it happen at CFCC for free. Find out more at cfcc.edu/NCGrant.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The hand-to-eye recount in the New Hanover County Board of Education race is now complete, and the results have flipped again. The initial canvass showed incumbent Nelson Bollier had lost to newcomer Jenna Bosch by 2 votes. Late yesterday, the recount showed Bollier has now beaten Bosch by 2 votes. That puts him on the ballot this November. Bosch has not indicated whether she will challenge the results. She has until this afternoon to do that. There have been 3 drownings in Oak Island this year, and it's not even officially summer. Oak Island Water Rescue Chief says that there were only 2 last year and none the year before that. Last summer, Oak Island Water Rescue installed signs at every beach access that, with the click of a phone, can give you a real-time look at the level of a rip current risk. But the chief says all 3 incidents this year happened on days where the risk of rip currents was moderate. And some local organizations have had trouble hiring lifeguards this summer. This is affecting the whole Cape Fear coast. Wrightsville Beach is minimally staffed this year compared to years past, and Fort Fisher has only half the staff it needs. According to Fort Fisher Park Ranger and Lifeguard Supervisor Jason Howard, the state park was trying to hire 6 lifeguards this season. On the first day of training, every new hire was a no-show. Since then, Howard has been able to assemble 3 of the 6 lifeguards he needs for a busy beach season. And in Southport, the city is mourning the loss of former mayor and police chief Jerry Dove. Dove lived in Southport for more than 3 decades. He served as a police officer starting in 1994, before serving as police chief beginning in 2003, then as mayor of the town from 2015 to 2019. Dove was also a U.S. Army Reserve and U.S. Air Force veteran. Funeral arrangements for Dove have not yet been made. You can find a statement from current mayor Joe Pat Hayden on our website. And for more on all these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 accurate weather forecast. We're going to have a very hot and humid day for the last day of the week today. Highs soaring all the way into the upper 90s to near 100, with a heat advisory from noon today until 7 p.m. tonight, as well as some stratospheric storms scattered in nature pushing their way through later on this evening, but drying out overnight for a dry day on Saturday. Highs on Saturday likely in the lower 90s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love here. Why'd you do me this way?
MusicRewind.com presents the Nashville Hitmakers, a collection of 60 songs that helped inspire the Nashville sound movement in the 1950s.
She thinks I still care. Billy, Billy, bye-oh, watch where you go.
Order the Nashville Hitmakers at MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556 today and pay only $19.98. Plus, get reduced shipping. Just enter or mention promo code HITS55. Go to MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556. Remember HITS55 to save on shipping. This offer is available for a limited time to U.S. residents only and cannot be combined with any other offer.
Join Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network, bigtalker.live. Visit the website, you'll love it, it's a way of life. Download the apps for Android and iOS devices, and you can Bluetooth pair your smart device with your automobile's entertainment system. Take the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you want to go. That's right. Oh, that's the way it goes. It's a beautiful day. It's a Friday even. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of hours, because I ain't got nothing planned. And that's kind of by design. Well, it's Friday, and just received news that another phenomenal musician that I knew and worked with in Louisville, Kentucky has passed away. I'm sorry to hear about Paul Culligan this morning. Joining the ranks of Scott Gentry and Dave Ernstbiker and just so many phenomenal musicians that you probably never knew, but they're still fantastic. So it's it's sort of a heavy Friday. I know nothing, I know it's just sad, never mind. Now we have drownings, limited lifeguards, low, we were talking about the scheduling yesterday. Boy, you talk about needing to shake up the system. I think that done it. Because now everybody's starting to reevaluate how they're treated, how they're viewed, how they're, there are other places, but I think also the other side of the coin is a lot of people are starting to develop skill sets that they may not have been aware of previously, right? And I think people are starting to realize that it's probably of greater use to read a book and learn technical skills than it is to try and be an YouTube influencer or, retail lackey. These are jobs that are meant to give you, something of a start in life. A sense of work ethic, right? When to show up for work. So if you're a minute late and you have to spend 10 minutes longer, doesn't really do much in a lot of the environments. That missed minute isn't the... it's just the attitude of the worker at it, right? In the military, it's beaten into you. If you're not there at 8 o'clock reveille, you're spending breakfast in the brig. And in theater, or at least in production for, live events, etc., if your call time is 5 and you show up at 5, you're late. And you're probably not going to get let in. And these are things that don't cost any money, right? It doesn't take a college degree to have a sense of work ethic to, show up on time early so that when the clock strikes the time that you're supposed to be there, you've already done everything, like hung up your jacket and whatever else. So I get it. It's annoying as hell to the employer, right? I need to talk to my staff, but they're just sort of trickling in over the next 15 minutes, so I have to say the same thing 5 times for each group of people that walks in the door. No, I want you all here so that at 8 o'clock when we start the meeting or the class or whatever the situation is, you're all already here, right? In a lot of cases, at least in entertainment, if you show up while the meeting is in place, you're already dismissed. You've already been replaced, right? You can just go home. And chances are you're off the phone list, meaning they're not going to call you again. And another good idea, this is just random advice in general. If you're having a dispute with your boss, leave it off social media. right? This is a personal thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that we shouldn't share on social media, I think, personally, right? In fact, we have a story come out of Japan. Isn't this awesome? Right, I'm saying it's just a bad idea to, post hate mail to your boss on social media where everybody can read it, right? Because chances are you're not going to get hired or, remain in the gig because nobody wants to work with somebody who doesn't like you. Japan makes online insults punishable by 1 year in prison in wake of reality star's TV death. By Jesse Young, Emiko Jozuka, and Kathleen Benoza, CNN. Come on now, you got to finish your load here, or I can't do much about it. Oh, you piece of crap. I have fat thumbs. But anyway, yes, Japan apparently is making it a crime to insult people online. So I'm not sure I agree all the way around because, well, anyway, Japan's parliament on Monday passed legislation making online insults punishable by imprisonment amid rising public concern over cyberbullying sparked by the suicide of a reality TV star who had faced social media abuse. Wah! So this is the same thing that I was taught about bullies, right? The more they make fun of you, the more you have to just, let it roll. Social media abuse? I think that term is completely backwards. Social media abuse is on the user's end, not on the, because you could always block, right? Unfollow, right? You could always, log out. You could always, delete your profile and, any number of things. You could do the Childress, right? Where you end up in Alaska living in a bus, an abandoned bus. Anyway. Social media abuse, my butt. Under the amendment to the country's penal code set to take effect later this summer, offenders convicted of online insults can be jailed for up to 1 year or fined 300,000 yen, which is about $2,200. It's a significant increase from the existing punishments of detention for fewer than 30 days and a fine of up to 10,000 yen, which is $75. The bill proved controversial in the country, with opponents arguing it could impede free speech and criticism of those in power. However, supporters said the tougher legislation was needed to crack down on cyberbullying and online harassment. My butt. It was only passed after a provision was added ordering the law to be re-examined 3 years after it goes into effect to gauge its impact on freedom of expression. Under Japan's penal code, the insults are defined as publicly demeaning someone's social standing without referring to specific facts about them or a specific action. According to a spokesperson from the Ministry of Justice, the crime is different to defamation, defined as publicly demeaning someone while pointing to specific facts. So, both are punishable under the law, so you just can't win. Like, Captain Groupon would get me in jail for a year unless I point out that the lead of a aerospace technology company has no clue what he's doing because his last job was as the CEO of Groupon. Anyway, Saiho Cho, a Japan-based criminal lawyer, warned that the revised law gave no classification of what constitutes. Oh boy, we're behind on coffee. Constitutes an insult. There needs to be a guideline that makes a distinction on what qualifies as an insult, Cho said. For example, at the moment, even if someone calls the leader of Japan an idiot, then maybe under the revised law that could be classified as an insult. Now we get to the poor person behind all this thing. Hana Kimura. The issue of online harassment has gained prominence in the past few years, with growing calls for anti-cyberbullying laws after the death of professional wrestler and reality television star Hana Kimura. Hana Kimura, 22, was known for her role in the Netflix show Terrace House, died by suicide in 2020. The news triggered grief and shock nationwide, with many pointing to online abuse she had received from social media users in the months leading up to her death. Now, I call bullshit here. I mean, we had Ryan and you can catch it on YouTube where they answer, the web's most hateful comments, right? I think Jimmy Kimmel even has a segment where actors and artists read mean tweets about themselves, right? I mean, if you give that any stock, that's your own fault. That's your own mental health issue that should be like, hey, you're a crazy nut job. You should not be on social media. Right? Just like you're a crazy nut job, you should not be carrying around 5 firearms. Or any, right? I mean, that's not on social media. That's not on the interwebs. You're going to get that walking through a crowd. I mean, God forbid she go to a tap room and find somebody who doesn't like her, and yeah, wow. Other cast members came forward to share their own experiences of online abuse. No. Online abuse is not a thing, man. It can't be. Because if you're online, you can turn it off. You can walk away. You can change the channel. This is on you. If you decide to wallow in that abuse, that's on you. Now, if somebody's coming to your house and yelling at you and knocking on your door and, calling you incessantly, right, that's a different situation. But this is the interwebs, man. If you take any of this stuff seriously, that's your own damn fault. It had nothing to do with nobody else. Online abuse. Soon after her death, top Japanese officials addressed the danger of cyberbullying and pledged to speed up government discussions on relevant legislation. Really? You're going to legislate the internet? Of course. Kimura's mother, former professional wrestler Kyoko Kimura, campaigned for stronger anti-cyberbullying laws after her daughter's death and set up a nonprofit organization called Remember Hana to raise awareness about cyberbullying. Kyoko held a news conference after the parliament announced its decision on Monday, praising the new law. I want people to know that cyberbullying is a crime, she said, adding she hoped that the amendment would lead to more detailed legislation. I still think that's a little ridiculous. I mean, what, you're surprised that people insult each other on the web? I mean, I'm still reeling from the fact that being bald is a sexual harassment lawsuit in the works. That nobody was bothered by the industrial language, which, here in America is one of the most offensive terms we could ever use. But over there, it's like no big deal. But the fact you called him bald, oh, that's a problem. Referring to a man's baldness is like referring to a woman's breast size. That's literally what the judges in the panel wrote in that decision. And in this one, this is, look, it's different in the case where apparently there was a young man committed suicide at the direction, if you will, of his girlfriend. Not much of a girlfriend, I guess, who kept tweeting him, look, just do it. Because, and a lot of times people use attempted suicide or speak of suicide for attention, right? Because they're not getting the strokes and appreciation, whatever, elsewhere. So they're going to use a, fabricated story to try and get attention. I mean, our former president did that a lot. But in this case, it led to a suicide. And I don't know if I would consider that, cyberbullying, because that was direct one-on-one. Here, she's trying to say that because somebody insulted her on Facebook, that she killed herself. No. She was already mentally, on the decline. The fact that somebody let her read Facebook or social media, that's the person who needs to be put in jail. The person who thought, having a social media account is usually, for a celebrity, is usually managed by a third party. And that should have been, a lot of those responses, et cetera, should be kept away from somebody who's, mentally unstable. Maybe one who puts a little too much value in what social media says and does. I mean, that's why I have trouble. I mean, cyberbullying is a great idea and a great escape and a great scapegoat. But again, that's an individual thing, right? If you're upset about what somebody wrote on your page, you've got options. And the one that we seem to forget first and foremost, right? The very first thing you can do is leave. Believe me, man, that's a power I am very much in touch with. If I don't like where I'm at, I don't like where things are going, I can leave. That's one of the reasons why I have worked diligently throughout my life to make sure that I always have a vehicle and a valid license. So if anything goes wrong, if anything is, say something I don't like, whatever, I'm not going to punch you. I'm not going to get mad or what. I might, but I'm not going to act out. I'm just going to leave. If I don't like what I'm watching on TV, I turn the channel. I turn it off. Right? I mean, what part about this is so flippin' difficult to figure out on planet Earth? Is something, is there some crack in the air or something like this? Is that, preventing people from understanding that they have the right? It's not even a privilege. It's a privilege to drive a car. It's a right to walk away. But I think this comes with education as well. To know that at times that if there is something that's being said that you don't agree with or you don't like the way you're being treated, as I was at a previous job, and I just said, you know what, I'm good. I'm done. Take care. I'm out. I had the wherewithal and I had the moral fiber to walk up to this person, my former boss, and let them know by a handshake. I wasn't going to do it. I've been fired by text. I've been fired by phone. I've been fired by email. I have never quit a job that way. I will walk up and tell you, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And there's no legal obligation. It's not like I'm AWOL from the Army. This is free market. I don't like the way I'm being treated. I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I got other things, other opportunities that I can explore. And that's what's happening in the great resignation or whatever, where everybody's, shifting jobs because they don't want to be treated the way they are in the place that where they are currently. The trick is to make sure that you have a skill set that is marketable. Therefore, if you have no skill other than flipping burgers or selling jewelry or installing watch batteries, that's on you. Right? So if you're mad that you're being treated like crap in a job that's crap because it takes crap training, right? I mean, I would push back again on Andrew's thing that, yes, anybody can flip burgers. Anybody can. I mean, the training required at a Wendy's to learn how to be a fry cook is about 7 minutes. Because everything's pre-measured, pre-buttoned. All they need is a warm body in there to do the mechanical work of, tapping the basket to get the oil off of it and dumping it into the hot basket where they put the salt on it. What I'm talking about in skilled and unskilled labor is skilled labor where you have to develop that skill, right? There's a lot of people with cameras, a lot of people with camera equipment, but what they do with that equipment is what separates them into good, bad, and world class. You have cheap, you have affordable, right? And that's what the open market is about. It's just like buying a car. Everybody's all Chevy. No, you buy the car that's most effective for what you need, unless, of course, you have a small penis and you need a really big car so that people won't look at you like, oh my God, right? They look at your car and go, oh my God. Because you spent all your money and all your energy for people to pay attention to you at your car, right? I would much rather see people being paid attention to for their accomplishments, for their contributions. A jacked up truck blowing black smoke all over the road and making loud ass noises does not help us as a species. There's a great quote, I wish I could remember, something about, the mark of a mediocre man is he wants to die loudly martyrdom for a cause, and the mark of a noble man is that he wants to live for one, right? A lot of people just want to be the noticeable one, but nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wants to do the unpleasant part. And that's where I think we fail our children, by not showing them, by not educating, by not illustrating for them the support role, the need to be a support role at the same time that you are a star, if you will. Because I've worked in many a production where the whole vibe is different when you're working with a diva, right? When you're working with somebody who thinks that they are the coolest thing since sliced bread, I'm looking at you, Power Man 5000. 15 years after you released any record whatsoever, you'd lost all relevancy, and you're on some, 200-seater club comeback tour, and you're going to talk to me like the way you did? Yeah. I'm good. I don't have that ego problem. That's on you, buddy. And it was funny when he complained to the management. It's like, wait a minute, why don't you look at the rest of the complaints from your own security staff here at the club? So if you're going to yell at me that this guy had a complaint about the sound guy, 17 of your security guys are complaining about the same son of a... Never mind. Obviously not the same value. Not the same set of values. You feel me? But I've also worked with people who are world-class human beings. Never had a problem. So a lot of this is going to be based on the interaction of the people you're working with. And if you're not happy where you are, leave. This is true in relationships. This is true in employment, right? This is true in a movie theater. This is true in a TV show. If you're not comfortable, leave. That's the best thing you could do. If social media has you depressed, turn it off, right? It's kind of like if you're stabbing yourself with a knife and it hurts and there's blood going everywhere, stop stabbing yourself and you won't have that problem, right? If you're getting a headache because you keep slamming your head into a wall, well, stop slamming your head into a wall, you won't have a problem. Just turn the damn thing off. So Japan's law in 3 years, I'm hoping they find it to be absolutely ridiculous. I hope that they find that themselves completely financially upside down from jailing everybody for stupidness, right? Because, I mean, the ability to call somebody stupid is part of our freedom of expression. It is our responsibility as a character, right, to maintain that. I mean, it's up to us. I mean, that's why I had to correct myself and let everyone know that Captain Groupon wasn't necessarily valid in and of itself. I had to point out that he was the CEO of Groupon before he took over the other aircraft company. But to try and jail somebody for saying Biden's stupid, can you imagine how that would go here in America? So if Japan really wants to show some sort of democratic finesse, this law ain't going to be the one. It's just going to get muddy and ugly really, really fast. Isn't that amazing? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a news break here and see if I can't get special guest up and rolling. That'd be cool. If I could have a special guest and completely blow your mind. Wouldn't that be awesome? I think so. So with that in mind, the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, will be right back after all of this stuff. Don't go nowhere, because it's about to get cool.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The hand-to-eye recount in the New Hanover County Board of Education race is now complete, and the results have flipped again. The initial canvass showed incumbent Nelson Bollier had lost to newcomer Jenna Bosch by 2 votes. Late yesterday, the recount showed Bollier has now beaten Bosch by 2 votes. That puts him on the ballot this November. Bosch has not indicated whether she will challenge the results. She has until this afternoon to do that. There have been 3 drownings in Oak Island this year, and it's not even officially summer. Oak Island Water Rescue Chief says that there were only 2 last year and none the year before that. Last summer, Oak Island Water Rescue installed signs at every beach access that, with the click of a phone, can give you a real-time look at the level of a rip current risk. But the chief says all 3 incidents this year happened on days where the risk of rip currents was moderate. And some local organizations have had trouble hiring lifeguards this summer. This is affecting the whole Cape Fear coast. Wrightsville Beach is minimally staffed this year compared to years past, and Fort Fisher has only half the staff it needs. According to Fort Fisher Park Ranger and Lifeguard Supervisor Jason Howard, the state park was trying to hire 6 lifeguards this season. On the first day of training, every new hire was a no-show. Since then, Howard has been able to assemble 3 of the 6 lifeguards he needs for a busy beach season. And in Southport, the city is mourning the loss of former mayor and police chief Jerry Dove. Dove lived in Southport for more than 3 decades. He served as a police officer starting in 1994, before serving as police chief beginning in 2003, then as mayor of the town from 2015 to 2019. Dove was also a U.S. Army Reserve and U.S. Air Force veteran. Funeral arrangements for Dove have not yet been made. You can find a statement from current mayor Joe Pat Hayden on our website. And for more on all these stories, you can head over to wwaytv3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAUY Storm Track 3 accurate forecast. We're going to have a very hot and humid day for the last day of the week today. Highs soaring all the way into the upper 90s to near 100, with a heat advisory from noon today until 7 p.m. tonight, as well as some stratospheric storms scattered in nature pushing their way through later on this evening, but drying out overnight for a dry day on Saturday. Highs on Saturday likely in the lower 90s. Get your full forecast on WWAUY and WWAUYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com. When you purchase a Golden Technology lift and sleep chair from US Med Express at 1733 Dawson Street, you get the benefit of a lift assist chair, a recliner, a memory button chair, a zero gravity chair, a Trendelenburg device, and a sleep chair, all in one of the most comfortable pieces of furniture you have ever experienced. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible, and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
Join Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. You'll love it. It's a way of life. Please download the app for Android and iOS devices so you can take the Big Talker anywhere, everywhere you want to be. BigTalker.live with the Listen Live tab, baby. That's right. Woo! Working on some stuff this morning to see what happens. The coffee's kicking in. I don't know if anybody in the restaurant industry has ever had snake. Right? Show up early in the morning. Not feeling too good. You know, a little run down. Go to the coffee machine, usually a bun, right? And they give you the pre-measured packet of coffee that you tear open and drop into the fresh basket filter, right? Well, snake is when you put 2 or 3 of those packets of coffee in there. And what comes out is this really thick motor oil that's really high in caffeine and antioxidants and whatever it is that makes you poop. So yeah, within a half an hour, everybody's run through the toilet, but everybody's jacked up. In my case, it just gets my nose going. Woo! But it could also be the springtime causing that issue. But that's part of it. And what a morning. I'm doing everything I can to bring a special surprise guest in to you. We'll see what happens here in a minute. Oh, not you. I need you, I think. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Trying to pull up some more news stories here. Worthy of the asylum. Where'd it go? Where did my news go? This is scary. One person trying to run all of this, and yeah, this is why I normally do 2 or 3 at a time. There we are. I have 2 or 3 people in the other room, and then all I have to do is this stuff behind it. Huh. We did a story not long ago after the hang on. There we go. It was the Red Bull fiasco trying to jump from one flying plane to another. Those guys didn't work out so well. They've run afoul of the FAA and have probably lost their license. Another man makes above par emergency landing on a Colorado golf course. Luckily, he nailed his landing to a tree. The pilot of a small plane was forced into an above par emergency landing this week, safely coming down on a Colorado golf course. Wild images show the twin-engine... I didn't even know this thing. I am not going to pronounce this. It's a plane. It's a twin-engine plane parked on the Fox Hollow Golf Course in Lakewood, luckily just off the edge of the green. The emergency was watched on by around 150 kids aged 8 to 17 who were getting lessons at the time, KDVR said, but with no one getting injured thanks to the unidentified pilot being such an ace. This was unusual today to have a plane go down, Fox Hollow's assistant golf professional Paula Bauer told 9 News of the emergency landing believed to have been caused by a mechanical failure. Thankfully, the pilot missed the green and didn't do any damage to the golf course, Bauer said, noting that everyone's fine. Local golfers joked about how the still-parked plane was just another obstacle to their games. Water, sand, skinny fairways, airplane, the usual. When you gotta land, bye. And from what I see here, he didn't actually hit a tree at all. I don't know why he nailed his. Luckily, he nailed his. Oh, to a T. That's because I can't read. I'm blind. I'm old. Decrepit. Yeah, luckily, he nailed his landing to a T. Now I get the joke. It's even funnier since I screwed it up the first time. That's me. As long as we're talking about airplanes. This is always fun. You don't want to be in an airplane in the air when water comes down on top of you. That's usually indicative of something gone slightly awry. Coming out of India Times, I guess. British waterways. Passengers left panic-stricken after water pours through ceiling of the plane mid-air. Passengers on a British Airways flight from London to Washington were left panic-stricken. The incident occurred on board British Airways flight BA292, June 10, towards the end of the 7-hour-long journey. Footage filmed in the cabin shows water cascading down from overhead compartments, with another clip showing it dripping down the stairs of the double-decker A380 aircraft, which was flying at 30,000 feet at the time. The airline confirmed that leak was due to a water storage unit fault, but said it didn't present a safety issue. I'm sorry, if water is pouring down on electronic equipment in my studio, which happened when we were in the Murchison building, it destroyed a couple of pieces of gear, a monitor, a couple of keyboards. There was no safety issue at any point. This was from the clean drinking water supply. The flight continued safely to Washington and landed as normal, the airline said in the statement. However, I'm going to, okay, you can't use your electronic devices. You have to put all the stuff in your overhead bin. Now the overhead bin is sopping wet, and everything I had in there, from underwear to hard drives, is now... I guess that's not important. That's not safety related. A faulty valve was replaced and the issue fixed, they added. An unnamed airline worker told The Sun that it was not a flight for nervous flyers. An in-flight waterfall is not a regular feature at British Airways. It looked more like British Waterways than British Airways. The crew gave thanks to the leak happened towards the end of the transatlantic crossing. The employee told the outlet, who was probably fired for opening his mouth at all immediately afterwards. There were a few people saying their Hail Marys, but staff were professional throughout, they added. British Airways said the safety of passengers and crew was never compromised during the incident, and therefore no diversion was necessary. It is the first time one of British Airways' 380 jets has sprung a leak mid-flight, although Airbus has been hit by similar incidents. Earlier in April, passengers on a flight in Brazil were forced to hold its door closed after it flew open mid-flight and the handrail hit the propeller. Whoops. This accident occurred in an Embraer 110 Bandeirante plane. I'm not going to pronounce that right. A Brazilian twin turboprop light aircraft used in commercial flights and by the Brazilian military. This flight left Jordão in Acre, and was headed to Rio Branco when the door opened up. After one of its support cables broke mid-flight, this prompted the passengers to rush over to hold the door shut. Footage showed 2 passengers can be seen holding the door to the small plane closed. According to local reports, the passengers were thankfully able to keep the plane door closed until it landed and no injuries were reported. Apparently, nobody had gone to school to use the concepts of what's the word I'm looking for? Leverage and pressure to take in, a bit of a difference. You got me by surprise here. I was going to pull a little... Hang on. I might still be able to pull this off. Let's see what happens. I like doing syndicated ready radio. It makes us look professional.
Please stand by.
There it is. We're being invaded.
We now take you live to the Institute of Rational Thought for a special broadcast.
What is going on here? I try to make everything digital.
Information to make your day.
And I'm still being infected.
Adams.
There it is. I think Chad Adams is actually with us on the phone, isn't he?
Would it be hilarious if it wasn't me? That would be the...
That would have been funnier if it was actually Catherine calling in saying, "Have you seen Chad?" Yeah. I think he's on the golf course. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I wish. If I was on the golf course, it would be an embarrassment for the golf course. That would make news in and of itself, Chad taking stroke number 187 on hole 5.
Right. That's how the golf company course is going to make money. They're going to charge you per swing.
But if they charge you per swing and you're bad, you actually are playing cheaper, right? So if you pay $50 to play golf and it took 150 swings, then it's like
no. They're going to do it the other way. It's going to be $5 a swing.
Oh. No, I've been on the road this whole week. I'm out in the western part of the state. I've been doing some other work, things, and having fun, and the exciting world of medical. So between medical and doing some hosting for WBT, it's been a bizarre week. But touring a lot of factories and seeing what people are going through is the side effect of that, and you see the economic reality that people are living in.
Wait, people are working?
It really is an eye-opening. Yeah, they are. I've been in about 5 factories in the past since Tuesday, and actually 6 factories. I went to one of the largest factories in the entire world, and it even says it on the side of one of the massive buildings with 1,600 employees and all this. It's like a city.
I should not guess what they make.
Furniture. They make furniture. No, they don't make Soylent Green. They don't. That's not what they make. They make furniture.
Slurm.
So it's been eye-opening. It's not anything that was really surprising, but it is eye-opening to see the impact, especially in the rural parts of our state. And we have quite a bit of that in eastern North Carolina with Columbus and Bladen and counties like that, and even north of Wilmington. But it has been interesting.
But these are more jobs you have to develop into, like woodworking, crafting, construction, manufacturing. That it's not as
assembling.
Assembly, right? It's a step above flipping a burger, but it's probably a different environment, not quite the same high pressure of a lunch rush for 3 hours. And
no, what's amazing is when you see the great thing about industry is the way it evolves and the way it adapts. And when you go to a modern furniture facility, yes, you've got, like you said, the assembly, people man their stations, and this person puts the cushions and melds the cushions together. The next person measures the material, and the next person puts it all together, cuts and measures. And then there's a lot of robotics at work. In fact, one of the facilities I was at, they had an entire building just dedicated to engineering and robotics. And they designed the new robotics for the next facility, whether it be in Alabama or in Missouri or California. So they're just designing the next stage. And even with all of that automation, it's still labor intensive to do all this. And then I visited a facility that manages a different company that manages fleets. So you're seeing the entire, from the people who produce the raw. In fact, this is interesting. One of the facilities, different company, produces the raw materials, the foam, the springs that go in furniture, and that ships it to a group that makes furniture, is the largest manufacturer of furniture in the world. And then the next facility is a group that manages fleets of trucks for different companies. As companies get out of the trucking business to say they want to make furniture and they don't want to be in the truck management business, this group manages trucks and fleets and actually makes tires as well. And so when you see that, you're kind of seeing the entire process inadvertently, because I'm dealing with them on another matter. But it is amazing how adaptable it is. It is amazing that these are good. A lot of these are good paying jobs, especially in the area where they are. The community college system helps transition. If there's a new procedure, a new way of doing it, they put the classes together, get people in there, get them trained. Good jobs, good benefits. But when inflation is growing faster than wages, they're losing money. So in other words, everyone out there pretty much, unless you're in government, like Brunswick County that gives these massive raises to everybody, or New Hanover that gives government employees massive raises. But everyone else is losing money. In other words, they're making less than they were last year. And that's why as times get tight, people sometimes cling to those government jobs.
Well, it's a guaranteed rig. But
yep.
In your traveling, did you notice, would you be able to quantitatively differentiate between, say, a frontline worker like retail or fast food or restaurant proper versus what you saw in the factories themselves?
Well, that's interesting because I think in large measure the demographics differ. In other words, a lot of these factories have people that are, anywhere from their late 20s to more likely they're in their late 30s, 40s, 50s. They're in that kind of world. They have a job. They 9 to 5. It doesn't change. It's pretty much and so for some people, for many people, that works. For someone like me, with the attention span of a highly trained gnat, it wouldn't work as well. I've got to have those challenges in a dynamic environment, and yet these people are very happy, very hardworking. Now, transitioning to your fast food and servers and these kind of entry-level jobs, I think a lot of that there's a generational gap in the, and it sounds judgmental, and I don't want to be too, because there's some amazing young people out there that have great work ethics, that have great value systems. There's another segment of that young group that has some kind of heightened sense of narcissism, as if the world owes them something. And it's
like a
very hard.
TikTok influencer.
Like a TikTok, yeah. So nothing worse than a social influencer that thinks they're not influenced.
And then they're flipping burgers, and they just, that's got to be murder on the ego.
Burgers. I worked at Burger King. I worked in tobacco fields. I cleaned toilets at Carver Post many years ago when I was in college. Swept floors at Roses and these kind of stores. So you learn those. And what I learned is I didn't want to do that forever. But they were great entry-level jobs to, just
get started.
Work you get, that's what it's about. It's about learning and having a discipline and having some humility and taking that forward in life. And you see a lot of times now the level of service at a lot of, and when you're on the road, you're seeing a lot of that because you're eating at different places, and staying in different hotels. And you see the lack of value system. You see this kind of entitlement, like that they're too good for the job that they're doing, and that it becomes manifest in the job. Now, I will say, when you go to a Chick-fil-A, that it's my pleasure, and the attitude and the hiring practices really have a discipline to them. And I think that's why Chick-fil-A gets attacked so often on the margins, because they say, oh, how dare they have these margins, that they accuse them of being bigoted or homophobic. They're not. They're just a family-oriented business. But it shows in the work ethic of the people they hire and promote. And I didn't mean to single them out, because there are other businesses that do it as well. But you see a lot of kind of people that took the job and don't care.
Right, the give a damn's broken.
They know no one's going to fire them. When you don't face the discipline of losing your job, it's a very different attitude. And right now, in the coastal part of our wonderful viewing or a listening audience that you've helped establish, they're really struggling to get workers. They really are at the time when they need them the most. The coast relies on tourism. It relies on people going to these restaurants, and these restaurants are struggling. They're always needing people. Now, the other encouraging sign is everywhere I went and have been, almost every facility needs more employees. There are definitely a lot of job openings, but a lot of people also, I don't know what happened over the past few years, that don't want to work. That don't want those hard jobs. They think they deserve six figures being a social influencer, like you said, and shouldn't have to work for 25 or 30 grand. That's beneath them. There's no starting point. They think they need to be where everybody who's worked for 20 or 30 years should be. There is.
Yeah, there's definitely a gap there where that whole give a damn. And on the other side of it, it seems Andrew Donaldson had a great segment on his show in Heard Tell about the pushback from the employees themselves, saying, we don't want to be treated like this. And, of course, my response is, if you don't want to be treated like that, learn a skill, right? If you become a really good welder, you can control your own life with greater capacity, or with I don't know what the term would be, but you can control your own destiny, like I do with, with equipment. If I have the equipment, I can go do your job or not do your job.
Right. But that's a discipline, because if someone's right now, what's great about being someone with a work ethic is, a lot of kids come out of college, like a lot of graduates right now. There's a whole graduating class. They're going out looking for a job, and they're going to be faced with the reality of, that's great, you have a college degree. How much experience do you have? And they're like, well, I don't have any experience. Well, how much? So they don't want to take that entry level job to get the experience that matches their educational acumen. But the one thing about a college degree that says to a lot of employers is that this individual has the discipline to make it through 4 years. But also, a lot of industry looks at college degrees and goes, wow, getting a college degree is pretty easy now. It's devalued in many respects, a college degree. So there's a lot of different dynamic things that are going on. It's not a static economy. It's not static workplace. There's so many opportunities for folks. If you have a work ethic and you have a drive and you have a dream, the beautiful thing about those is that you can get to where you want to go in this country. You can. It's going to take hard work. It isn't instantaneous, and it's going to take a couple folks that believe in you. But if you work hard, folks are going to realize, there will be folks that recognize your work ethic. They're going to recognize your talents. They're going to recognize your abilities, and you'll get opportunities. But thinking you deserve to start on top of, Mount Everest, you don't start there. You just don't. But there's a lot of people that think they deserve to.
They feel like they were born there.
But that's an aspect of a value system that unfortunately has become far more pervasive. And you see it made manifest when I'm trying not to put labels on it too much, but you see this, and because I'm a conservative talk show, I know that the world isn't fair. I know that there are things that happen that are horrible things, but what I don't see is I don't see a lot of young people with the kind of discipline. They don't recognize all the people that came before them, the generations of people that came before them that paid a heavy price to get us to this point in society where we have many things far easier than people before us. Whether it be 50 years ago or 100 years ago, we have so much more, and yet a lot of people complain more. We have more complainers with less to complain about than ever before in history.
Can I pivot on that?
Absolutely.
Japan is working on making online insults punishable by 1 year in prison. So if I were to say Chad Adams is a stupid old man, I could go to prison for a year.
Doesn't it depend on the insult? And who gets to determine what's an insult?
Those are some of the very questions brought up by the, I think his name is Cho, Seihai Cho, a Japanese-based criminal lawyer, warned that the revised law gave no classification of what constitutes an insult.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to know what this is all based on?
Subjective, yeah.
This is because a cute girl committed suicide because she was harassed on social media. So I'm having
They have a whole forest. They have a whole forest in Japan where people go to commit suicide. There was a movie made about that. I don't remember, but there's the suicide forest. It's supposed to be haunted and all this stuff. Not that I subscribe to that, but there is a forest there where people go to commit suicide. And you're right. I mean,
is cyberbullying? I mean, so this has been my thing, and maybe it's because I'm an adult and I remember people like John Hinckley, that I remember that the TV has an off button. Right? There's more than one channel that if somebody's insulting me or abusing, that's what they're calling it, is he was abused online. Right? How do you get abused online? I mean, if you, how does Chad Adams deal with somebody saying something insulting? Do you turn off? Do you change the channel? What do you do? Do you go hit him?
That about every month there, and Pete Callender is a good friend of mine. He's a host on WBT, and then so we commiserate from time to time, and I follow him on social media, and he follows me. And every now and then, someone will latch on. And I've got one on Facebook, for instance, that pipes up every now and then. He's a complete narcissist. He is always right. And you want to believe, you do and I do, that people want to debate issues. You want to believe that we live in a society where people want, like you and I can have a disagreement, and I think TK makes many good points, and hopefully he believes I make a few good points. And we actually come away from a disagreement. We may not agree, but we come away with a different vantage point than we had prior to the discussion. That's the beauty of being able to disagree and be agreeable. But on social media, again, back to what we said prior to the pivot, is that people have this belief that because they found 10 people that agree with them, that they're correct, that they're right, that they're on the right side of a given issue at a given time at a given place. And so they have this head full of mush that makes them think they're right. And then when they don't disagree with you, they just attack you. And so this is particularly bad on Twitter, where you're very limited to 164, 65 characters, whatever the magic number is. And so they just insult you. And then, I will tolerate it for a while. It's like I had one last week that attacked Callender, and then somehow he pivoted over to me, and he started attacking me. And I thought, okay, well, here's an opportunity. And I said, go ahead and explain your perspective. And it wasn't. It was just an attack on me. You need to admit this. And I said, I don't work for you, pal. I don't work for you. If you make an accusation against me, you need to back it up. Show where I did what you said I did. Just give me an illustration. Well, you need to deny this. And I said, I don't need to deny anything. If you listen to me, I don't subscribe to what you're accusing me of. But you haven't listened. You just wanted to attack me. And then eventually they get to the point that you just have to block them because they're unhinged. And,
but you're not going to commit suicide or murder over it. You're going to
No, I'll
take
have to say that
personal
probably
actions that prevent any further consternation.
Sure.
And celebrities, like this is apparently a celebrity, Japanese celebrity, a cute girl, because, obviously an ugly guy, they're not going to do anything. But a cute girl, right? Normally people, like Angelina Jolie on our side of the pond, etc., usually have management handle their social media account. That for the most part, just turn off your phone.
Well, we had a case in this country, and it's recent. I think there's a movie about it now. It's either a documentary or a movie. I don't know. But the case involved a young fella, teenager, and he had suicidal thoughts.
I referenced this earlier in the show.
Yeah, and his girlfriend online didn't discourage those thoughts. She was aware of where he was. But again, she's no mental health expert.
Right.
And she basically encouraged him to off himself, and he did.
Well, that
and
was
so
not
this ended up
necessary. He did that. She did that more by text than social media.
Yes, no, absolutely. It was
So it
text.
wasn't
What I'm
social
saying is-
media. So I would consider that
But it's
actual.
still a digital communication.
Oh, yeah.
It's a digital communication.
But it's not an
and it
open
gets to the
forum.
block.
That's my point. It's like the difference between a phone call and a public rally, right?
Oh, not. Good point. I wouldn't disagree with that. The point I would make is, if someone's communicating with you in a negative way, would the insult committee? We had a disinformation group here in this country that fell apart almost as soon as it was created, and so does the insult committee go? Yeah, that's an insult. Put them in jail. No, that's inadvertent. But again, it's a suppression of freedom. If I don't like the way you dress, I have a right to say it. You have a right to say, if I say that dress looks hideous on you, I have a right to say, I have a right to that opinion.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I have a right to go break into your house and steal all your clothes so that you can never wear them again or something. It's very different.
And it doesn't open a door for you to sue me for saying that I don't like your dress.
No.
Right?
And that's the kind of, but we
now you do know,
it is a weird world.
We had a lawsuit, had Dan Romand on here from All Things Brunswick. And he is a handsome, strong man with, no hair. And apparently it is the subject of a lawsuit in England right now where a man was called an old, bald something or other using industrial language. Nobody was bothered by the totally offensive industrial language. But the fact that he was called bald by his boss constituted sexual harassment, and the 3 bald judges on the panel said that being referred to as bald is like referring to a woman by her breasts.
Oh, gracious.
Have we lost our minds as a species, or what's going on here?
To get, follicularly challenged, but nonetheless, if I were, there are certain people I can refer to in which physical characteristics would become manifest in their mind, whether I mention those characteristics or not.
You mean like
if
Obama's ears?
Oh, sure, but you said ears. But if you said Obama, people know that's a thing. For instance, if I say Dolly Parton, everyone who hears that name knows physical characteristics. That wasn't an insult. It's what she has a quote that says, "Hey, it costs a lot of money to look this cheap."
Wow,
that's part of.
I didn't know that one.
Oh, that's a great. She said that's a great one. I mean, I
like that.
Her a few times. And
I'm gonna have to borrow that for myself.
Yeah, well, I don't. Funny, I wouldn't ascribe it to you, but nonetheless, you can mention things. If I mention Don Rickles or if I mention Dean Martin, you know what those people look like, and it's not necessarily. And being bald isn't an insult; it is a descriptor of what someone is. If someone has maniacal hair or something, or long hair, oh my God, it looks like a rocker. It is. It's not. It can be used as an insult, but it also is a description. And the courts, I saw when there was a court case here in this country where I don't know if you heard Happy the Elephant or not, but Happy the Elephant was an elephant in New York. It's in a zoo, and a bunch of animal rights people wanted to move it. And they felt that if they could get the courts to determine that the elephant was a human, they could free the elephant. Ooh. And the court, I can't believe it was even a lawsuit. The courts rightfully said the elephant is not a human and not entitled to the citizen rights. So, but we're kind of through the looking glass on these kind of things. Yeah, I read a story yesterday about angry hamsters, where scientists have known for many decades, since 1984, that there's certain receptors that make hamsters angrier or less angry. Well, they started messing with that. They knew it because hamsters, of the rodents on the planet, hamsters are the ones that are most socially like humans. And so they were thinking, what if we can just alter brain receptors, and then this could eventually be a human thing? We could alter their anger levels and stuff, which is kind of screwy and scary. But when they did some gene editing on these hamsters, they took this thing away. Instead of making them more docile, they got angrier.
Huh.
And so it just proves. So you don't know as
Just
much
pour a
about
little
brain
crack on
receptors.
there. It'll
It's
be
just
fine.
It was fun. But here's what's even more interesting. There was a distinction between female and male hamsters. When you took the thing away from male hamsters, they got angrier, they got angrier, and when you added it, they got more docile. The opposite happened in female hamsters, and they don't know why. The point being, there's a difference between female and male. But if you start making that point, people will get angry at you for daring to say the truth.
That there's only two genders.
If you say that, though, you've incited. And where this becomes important is if you're treating someone 10 years after they've transitioned, that XX and XY chromosome issue does matter at a chemical level. No matter what you do, those chromosomes are still there.
Right. So no matter what you smoke, what you poke, don't lie about it when you get into the hospital, at least.
Right.
And don't try to trick me into it, because I am more concerned about the scientific reality of where I am on the planet than I am about your projection of psychosis
a social
onto
construct.
Right.
So
gender
these are the
fluid
kind
even
of things.
confuses me. And, I have no problem with a person identifying as that, but I don't understand how I am supposed to be affected by that. Am I supposed to sign up?
But again, back to your original point, the degree to which people are hypersensitive about truly, and I don't mean to diminish it, and I'll get accused of this, truly meaningless aspects of life. That, if things were to get very, very difficult, these constructs, all of this made up stuff falls away. And I think it's that humans naturally have a fight or flight syndrome. We constantly look for things in our environment to change. We look for things in our environment to challenge. We are that way. And when things become too easy, we find it's like a border collie. If you ever had a border collies are bred to work. They're working dogs. And a lot of people will buy a border collie that live in an apartment. Well, a bored border collie is not something you want to have.
Oh, no, it'll
find
destroy
things
everything.
to do. There was a guy I knew who had a border collie and had two cats. And when he left to go to work, he left the border collie at the apartment. And this thing, it's a herding animal. So what it did was it would pick a spot, and it would gather the cats and force them into that spot. And it would do this relentlessly for hours on end, to the point that the cats were completely damaged. He would come home, and the cats were just really messed up. And the border collie was chill because he'd been working all day on them. That's the kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
they
you have
say cats
humans-
can't be trained. Oh, my God. I think
this border collie had him trained. That border collie would look at him funny, and the cats would just, lose it. So humans are kind of the same way. When you give humans too much freedom, and I don't mean that it needs to be restricted, it means that working hard and having discipline, a lot of false things, narratives fall away when you're working hard. You don't have these social influencers, they have, an extra 8-10 hours of freedom every day to just find mindless drivel to elevate an importance that really isn't important.
Yeah, and it makes money.
When you disagree with them.
That's the part
They
that's
make
really
money.
scary. People are throwing money at them.
Well, and that creates a false sense of, hey,
I'm
I
important.
Can make millions of dollars. I'm important, and I can go do the same thing. So you say, son, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a social influencer. Well, that's great. You and the 5